Welcome to month 8 of Cheshire Quilters Guild 2019 block of the month. This is Cat Den Mountain Quilts BOM, block 8, Contrary Wife. And we're going to start by making flying geese, which we did in an earlier month. And so we're going to start by drawing lines on the back of these fabric G squares from corner to corner. I'm not sure if you can see the line on there. It's pink. Let's see if I can draw it a little darker. I can see it well enough to do the sewing, which is what's really important. But there's the line from corner to corner. So I do that on all 4 squares, and then I'm going to take 2 of the squares and start the process of making 4 flying geese using the 5 square method, the no waste method, the fast flying geese method. There's a number of names for this technique. But the key is to take the large square, and we're going to lay 2 of the small squares on it, and this line is drawn this way. I'm going to take another one so that the lines connect going all the way across. And now I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch seams on either side of that drawn line. Okay, now that it's sewn, we just take our ruler and cut between the stitching. And now I'm going to take it over and I'm going to press these away. I'll meet you back here after I've got them pressed to show you the next step. Okay, now that we've got those pressed, I'm going to take the remaining squares, again with a line going vertical, and position it up in the corner, stitch on either side. So I'm going to do that with both of these pairs. Stitch on either side. Meet you back here. Okay, so now we just repeat by cutting diagonally across. So on the line that was drawn. Now these need to get pressed back, and we'll have 4 flying geese. Now I don't have very good contrast in these blocks, but I'm going to go ahead and finish those up. We do have another set of flying geese that we need to make. So I'm going to demonstrate the remainder of the process using the other set. Again, draw our lines. And I know you may or may not be able to see the pink. But this is going to go the same manner. I'm going to put 1 square at the bottom, 1 at the top, sew on either side, and I'll come back and show you what else to do when I get it back to this after this step. Okay, so now I'm up to the part where we want to trim these to size. So I've went through the same steps with the white and yellow that I with the 2 blues. And now we're going to trim them to 2.5 by 4.5, and we're going to start with the point up. And we're going to put the 2.25 by 1/4 at the point, and then these 2 corners are going to be at the 2.5, 4.5 marks. And that allows us to trim 2 sides. Rotate the unit around, and then you can trim the other 2 sides to 2.5 by 4.5. And that gives you a perfect little goose unit. So I'll show you again. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to help you see where things line up. So 1/4 inch down at the 2.25 inch mark, so the halfway mark. The 4.5 by 2.5 are down here at the ends on the seams. Trim 2 sides. Rotate and trim the other 2 sides. And there you have how to make geese, the fast flying geese method. And I just need to trim up the rest of these, and then we can start assembling the block. Okay, so we've got all our geese made, so we're going to take 2 of the fabric G and F geese and sew them on either side of a fabric E square. And then on each side of the other 2 geese, we're going to sew a fabric E square. So I've got 2 there, 2 there. So we're going to sew these all together. And we're going to press the seams toward the square. So we're going to press these out and this in. So let me do that and meet you back here, and we'll see what we need to do with those 3 rows. So here's our 3 rows. So now we're just going to put these together. And because we pressed to the squares, the seams are going to nest nicely. And so I'm going to finish this up, and when we come back, I'll show you the next step that we need to do. So here's the center of our block finished, and note that I have pressed these 2 seams toward the center as indicated, and that's important for seams to nest later in the block. Next up is to make some half square triangles. We need 8 of them, and so we're going to use 2 squares to make the 8. So what we're going to do is just mark a line vertically, horizontally, and on the 2 diagonals. Now I'm going to take these over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch on a 1/4 inch seam on either side of the 2 diagonals, not the vertical and horizontal, just on the 2 diagonal lines, and that will give us our 8 half square triangles. I'll meet you back here when I've got them sewn, and we can see how we proceed. Now that we've got the squares sewn along the 2 diagonals, we can cut along all of the drawn lines, vertical, diagonal, horizontal, and the other vertical. And in doing so, separate the 8 half square triangles that we've created. Now I'm going to take these over to the pressing station. I'm going to press all of these seams open. So here's our triangles, and now we're just going to square them up to 2.5 by 2.5, and I'm just going to put my 45 of my ruler along the seam, and that makes it very easy for me to trim these up. And we've got 8 of them to trim, but once they're trimmed, we'll be able to start constructing our block. Okay, so here's all our finished half square triangles, and now we're going to take our 4 geese with the same fabrics, and we're going to sew half square triangles on each end, but make sure you orient them correctly. So they're going to look like this. So we're going to sew these together, and we're going to press the seams out. And then, actually on 2 of them we're going to press the seams out, and on the other 2 we should press the seams in, now that I look at the layout. But anyways, let's get these sewn together, and on 2 of them we're also going to put squares of our background fabric on each end. So 4 with this, and then on 2 of them we're going to add the extra squares, and we're going to press the seams on the ones with the extra squares all to the inside, and the other 2 we're going to press to the outside. Okay, so here are these 2 that I've pressed out, And I know that's different than the that's the same as the instructions pressing. And then these two where I've pressed in and I've added the squares on the end. So now that we take our thing and we've got these two that are pressed in, and those two seams need to be on the side, so these that are pressed out can nest on there. And then the other two pieces will be on the top and the bottom, and these seams are pressed out, so where these are pressed in, those will also nest nicely. Now, in order for make this work, when we add these two side pieces on, we're going to press out, and then all the seams along the top and the bottom will nest as we add the top and bottom pieces on. So let me get these four pieces sewn on there and pressed, and we'll see what Contrary Wife looks like. And there you have it, Block 8, Contrary Wife of Cat Den Mountain Quilt BOM, which is the 2019 Block of the Month for Cheshire Quilters Guild. Meet me back here next month for Block 9, Girl's Favorite.